Yo, what's up? All right, so I'm not sure if Jon Olsen's gonna show up. I did send him a message. I didn't really. He said, I think like maybe a couple days ago that he wanted to set up for today at this time. So I actually got back to him about like half an hour ago, maybe like around 10 o'clock, and I was like, okay, like I'm ready to go. Here's a link. So maybe he's available. Maybe he made other plans. I don't know, but I'm gonna actually go over some of the notes that I have on him. In his own words, I actually have an email here. So he said, I believe I'm called Ed, right? I want to take us with the real name rather than DDL7. If you want to use an alias, that's okay too. My deepest area, this is his words I could share on the screen. I'm just doing a little bit of research, so I do generally do this. So might as well do it live. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Okay. My deepest area of competence is the burgeoning sovereign movement in Hawaii, about which I published a book in 2014, Liberate Hawaii, renouncing and defying the fraudulent U.S. claim to the sovereignty of Hawaii. Okay. U.S. claims that Hawaii is sovereign and that's fraudulent. I'm not sure exactly what that means. I would, I'm assuming that he's supporting indigenous rights, or he does claim to be an expert in the topic, and this is no mere academic matter. Oh, I like that. Yeah, I'm not actually. I'm quite critical of academia and the bogus nature of legal authority has been proven, but of course not recognized by the U.S. This nature of legal authority. Tens of thousands of people of Hawaii understand that, but outside, very few, which is why I wrote the book, see reviews on Amazon. I also have a good comprehension on the JFK murder and the 9/11 and the COVID phenomenon. Okay. Not much interest on the narrow question of local versus central power. What he's talking about there is I was actually, I've been working with some communists. Um, I know there's a lot of people who don't like communists, but, I really don't have people, implement in different ways. And it could be good, it could be bad, right? So this group, anyways, one thing that I do want to mention is that all the groups, okay, from the communists to the libertarians to all of them, are unfortunately suffering from a takeover that is going on, a coordinated takeover that is going on throughout all the third party independent spaces right now. It's happening like never before. And the personnel is identifiable, and the silencing of elected members is actually quite interesting, right? So this guy once again is actually there is other paperwork that I've been researching on to find what's going on. So we'll be showing that in a moment, right? We'll be going over that as well. I don't know if this guy's showing up. We're just 3 minutes in. Okay. I also have a good confirmation. JFK murder. Okay. I lived through the trauma of the 60s, and for 4 days being on college campus a little bit, watch everything involved at the time, and saw Oswald, not a perpetrator at all, get murdered on live TV. Already coming out with our premiere episode soon. Please let me know when and resend the link. I get 60, 70 emails that are not spam. I never get through them all. Oh my goodness. Sorry, John. Okay, well. Um damn. Yeah, this guy actually, if I remember, he's actually right now, he he actually worked at a canning factory in Kauai, I believe. And that means that give me a second, I'm actually bringing up another window here to show you some of this stuff. But from there, he met the local population, indigenous peoples, I believe, and this is where his level of expertise, I believe, in this whole Hawaii thing comes in. So the thing is that I actually saw there was a video on Olsen. Maybe has to say because I'm not really sure. It's hard to watch this a little bit, So let's share this window right now. Yeah. So here we see Jon Olsen liberating Hawaii. It seems like he wants to go and be for the sovereign people. That's just what it looks like. Let's actually watch this. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I usually speak loud enough that I kind of need a mic, but I'll stand here, and if anybody can hear me, just let me know. I think I can speak sufficiently loud. We will have a short video, about 15 minutes. This is very dramatic, or none of the above. Now, somebody wisely said that when a lie is told over and over and over and over and over and over and over, eventually it becomes accepted as truth. But then the person who actually tells the truth is regarded as a raving lunatic. That's probably how you'll think of me for the first few minutes of my presentation. The correct answer to the question is none of the above. It never became part of the U.S. legally. It was now the U.S. gained control, clearly, and still does. But the government there is basically a subsidiary of the U.S. government. It's not a legitimate government legally, and I'll go into that to some degree. The standard history book will tell you in 1893 there was a revolution that overthrew the Queen. 1898 there was annexation. 1902 was the Enabling Act that created the Republic of Hawaii, or rather became a territory of Hawaii. Then there was 1941 with the Pearl Harbor Act. 1959, the plebiscite ratified statehood. This is the standard false history. So I use an analogy sometimes. You've probably seen the magic shows where a magician will reach into stories. One from the coup makers who wanted, and the answer to the question is why did Kennebec Valley Makers conspire? Well, they were part of the annexation, trend of the westward movement, the manifest destiny, that whole mentality. And so that was the answer to that question. And so President Cleveland's address in full is Appendix A in my book. Appendix B is the apology for having overthrown the government. And very rarely you'll find an empire apologizing for its imperial behavior. That was in
but as far as bookstores, we have a couple here in Bath. He was a founding member of SDS, Draft Resistance, the Resistance we called it, Peace and Freedom Party. Much later, the Hawaii Green Party. I also owned and ran a radical bookstore for 7 years.
And what was the experience like for you there in Hawaii?
Which basically took over there 36 years, and I lived in Maine for 36 years. So now people know how old I am.
So tell us about your story in Hawaii.
Well, I went there in 1965 as a graduate student in philosophy, and which I got a master's there in 67. But this was being the middle of the 60s. I was deeply involved with the anti-war, anti-draft movement, which basically took over my life for the next 10 years. I was a founding member of SDS, Draft Resistance, the Resistance we called it, Peace and Freedom Party. Much later, the Hawaii Green Party. I also owned and ran a radical bookstore for 7 years.
And what was the experience like for you there in Hawaii? Did it have some impact on you?
Life-changing. First of all, being exposed to a non-white majority population, having come from Maine, that itself was quite unique, and adapting to the Hawaiian lifestyle and just different nuances of existence. It was quite profound, which I liked. I felt drawn there. It was like a magnet that drew me to Hawaii.
And tell me about the people. What way, and the culture, what way were you affected by that?
Well, an acceptance. It took a little time for me to adjust. It was a lot of internal, undefined nuance changes, but just gradually an acceptance. I find that in spite of a rather substantial and well-deserved anti-white mentality that people often have there due to the history, that if you treat people respectfully, you will be treated respectfully. So a lot depends on your own conduct.
All right. So why then did you come back to Maine after so many years, 36 years?
36 years, yes.
In Hawaii.
Well, my dad was turning 90, and I had lost my mother in 1975 to a car accident, and I didn't want to lose my dad without having be able to spend some significant time with him. That was the reason number one. Secondly, I was missing the farm that we grew up on, which is where I live now, and Damascotta Lake. And my son, I brought with me to go to Lincoln Academy, which is where I had gone. And my daughter was in college at Oberlin in Ohio. So the idea was we'd move our family here.
All right. You've started a business since you've come back to Maine that kind of links both Hawaii and Maine, and you have a poster. Can you show that? And
yes,
and tell us about the product that you make.
Okay. Well, I do tropical Maine. See, I'm tropical Maine too, having lived in both places. But this is my logo. The surfing moose represents tropical Maine, and it consists of Maine maple syrup and passion fruit concentrate. And normally people would add sugar to, so I give little samples all day long. I might do several hundred little samples to be faced with the armed might of the U.S. I don't want to absolutely denounced the coup against the Queen.
What did the report say?
The report basically supported her, so-called, happened in 1898 after the so-called Treaty of Annexation failed. Hawaii is not and never has been part of the United States. It's all a historical illusion. Imagine the effect on contemporary Hawaiians when they saw this.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Did it reignite the what is the effort called formally in Hawaii today?
Well, it's regaining sovereignty. It's called the Hawaii Sovereignty Movement, which is a broad overview. And nobody uses the word secession because secession is inappropriate because they're saying regain our full sovereignty, recognizing that the so-called state of Hawaii is a fully controlled U.S. entity. I mean, nobody denies that U.S. controls Hawaii, but the sovereignty truly never passed from the Hawaiian people. You
also talk about in the book
have a staging area for commerce and warfare. They wanted Pearl Harbor, and they wanted also to exclude Japan. This was part of the thinking that Japan was a rising country, and they were afraid that if they didn't take it, that the Japanese would. So in some sense, it was a preemptive strike. And we see that kind of thing being reflected in today's world as well.
Yeah. And today, the U.S. Pacific Command
constitute that. Huge chunks of it, roughly 23% of that entire island is controlled by the military. A handful of people.
Okay, we gotta check some. All right, things are looking real good, yeah? Let's see if there's a tie here to the Jimmy Dore world. It seems weird that there isn't. Maybe something happens. There is no tie this time. Strange. Who knows, though? All right, so I don't know if this guy's gonna show up. Seems like he's very busy. I get it. This guy's a real OG. You know what I mean? This guy's SDS is really just so you know, if you don't know about the history of the civil rights movement, SDS is really kind of like a powerhouse and kind of like definitely right up there with maybe even Al Sharpton level. You know what I mean? I guess in terms of just significance of being in that era. SDS is maybe even more significant just because of I think maybe even had a larger reach. So SDS is crazy. Definitely want to excited for the online activist interview to learn from his perspective of longtime activism. It does seem right, yeah, he does actually address it himself. It is a little bit weird. You have white guys involved with the whole entire, was it the indigenous people's fights, and you see them speaking on their behalf. But if he has some good points to make, that's okay, right? Yeah, we want to see there's people next to him. They may want to do their own thing, and then, we have to make sure that they're also being heard because that's just not right any other way. Yeah, I mean, unless they sold out, and in that case, it's their choice, right? So. But yeah, the sovereignty of the peoples, that's actually the same thing that's going on in Korea. So, yeah, let's appreciate that particular aspect. So, I think I may actually call it. I have other things I got to do myself, so was excited for this one. But it is also interesting to see that there's, I believe that also Florida, we see that a significant number from Maine. Is he from Maine? Maine Green Party, right? Yeah. He has some ties to Hawaii, but he, I believe, is representing from Maine right now. The Green Party right now, there's the press is not covering this because the press has relationships with the gatekeepers, and that's going to be people that have had access and people that have been going on each other's shows, like Jill Stein's been on Revolution Blackout, Jimmy Dore, stuff like that. They have a little, they have to protect each other. They have little agreements behind the scenes. Sometimes it seems like they're going at each other, but they are in solidarity on certain things against the working class. And this is actually, unfortunately, they are deeply involved with the third party. It's going across all the groups, libertarians, Greens. So we're going to see where this goes. Yeah, we are working behind the scenes on other things in the Green Party, but it just on a local level, we need to have access to the ballot control and judges to make sure that the election rulings and stuff line up in the correct way. Anyways, rep my block. We're trying to. I gotta do some organizing for that right now. So let me go and get to the guide manual for learning the rep my block program. Bye bye.